Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much to Mother of Cajuns. She has been a long time supporter. She's at the elite level, and I appreciate it, ma'am. I really do. Hopefully, you're having a great day. So, y'all out there in YouTube land, you better buckle up. Preppers, buckle up. We knew it was coming, didn't we? We called this several months ago. In fact, we called this, I don't actually know when, but I think it was toward the end of last year, at the end of 2023. We were talking about the coming social chaos in this country, probably when it started to get warm outside. Remember, we were talking about flip-flops on the ground, and I can remember saying, many of you did as well, to be fair, we didn't know what they were going to be protesting about. They didn't know what they were going to be protesting about, but we knew that they were going to show up and show out, if you will. So, 'tis the season for protests and social chaos here in the United States of America. We're talking about that obviously this morning, as well as the potential for coming lockdowns and martial law. We will explain. So, this entire movement, it's always a movement. It's always got to have a theme and a name and whatever. I don't understand. But this particular time around, last time it was the BLM. Let's light everything up and twerk out in the streets. This time around, it's called Stop the World for Gaza. So this began yesterday in San Francisco. Protesters essentially locked down the Golden Gate Bridge. They were stopping people from getting back and forth. This movement, again, because it's organized from, this is not just a bunch of upset people. It is organized by some heavy hitters, some people with some deep pockets. Again, we know this, right? It's spread. It's spread to several areas of the country. Seattle Tacoma International Airport, they were locking the way in and out for these individuals that were trying, they had flights to catch and things. And there are actually reports of people having to abandon their cars and their rental cars and stuff like this on the side of the freeway and just walking past the protesters, because that's how you're supposed to deal with it, right? In the real world, I'd say just drag them out of the street, son. Let me get on my soapbox for a second. So everybody has the right to peacefully assemble and protest here in the United States. But the way I was taught, now I'm old, but the way I was taught in high school and, all that is my rights end once they begin to interfere with someone else's rights. In other words, if somebody wants to ride the rainbow uh, theme park ride, let them. That's their right to do it. Don't care. It's none of my business. But when you start to drag me and my family into your little facade, if you will, at this point you're impeding on my rights. And so yesterday, you're you're no longer peacefully protesting when you're preventing other people from exercising their right to move back and forth. I'm sorry, but you're just not. You're not supposed to do that. The Brooklyn Bridge protests were breaking out there as well. They locked the bridge down for a little while. Are you seeing a trend as well? We'll talk about that. The Chicago O'Hare International Airport, again, people were abandoning vehicles and trying to make flights and missing flights, all because of Gaza and the Stop the World for Gaza movement. So the trend seems to be liberal city, liberal city, liberal city, liberal city. Y'all getting that? Did y'all pick up on that? I'm just curious in the chat. This doesn't seem to happen in other places that are more conservative. It doesn't seem to happen in rural America either. That's weird. I don't know. So the people that were protesting were using vehicles in some cases to block the roads. Again, not really legal at that point. You can get the picket sign, you can walk up and down a public sidewalk, totally within your rights to do that. But when you start blockading, for example, the Golden Gate Bridge with vehicles, it becomes an issue. It becomes an issue of legality at some point. And, the police were sent in, but again, liberal cities, kids' gloves, Okay, kids, it's almost like you have grown children. Remember, I mean, they are grown children, right? But do you remember when you're little babies, you got them the little burp cloth and you're trying to help them get that little burp up? You know what I mean? I remember that for some reason this morning. It could be the coffee, son, but I remember that. And it just feels like we're taking these adult babies and throwing them across our shoulder and we're trying to burp them and get all the burpsies out so they can be an adult, for once in their life. But they're using vehicles. They are using 55-gallon drums filled with concrete. So some planning went into this. And they're using an arm locking formation called, and I quote, the sleeping dragon. Man, that sounds scary. It kind of sounds like a Bruce Lee movie, if I'm being honest. And they are demanding peace in the Middle East. So good luck with that, first of all. Good luck with peace in the Middle East, because I don't think you're ever going to see that. I don't know that we've ever seen peace in the Middle East, but let's call a spade this morning, son. If you had peace in the Middle East, you would be demanding war. Some people just want to protest. They want to be part of something special, I think, or they want to be. It's like a cultish mindset or a groupthink mindset, but that's just my opinion. The sleeping dragon, though, somebody's got to explain that to me, because I would get out. I would be like, "Hey, son, get out of the road." And then when I saw this sleeping dragon arm lock, I don't know. I might get back in the vehicle and I might be shaking in my boots, so to speak. So that's sarcasm. Please don't subscribe. In fact, maybe subscribe to the channel if you're brand new and shoot a thumbs up if you're not brand new. I would appreciate that. So I want to explain this morning how I approach prepping. And let me just take a second. Hopefully y'all like the new aesthetic over here. The articles are going to be changing almost daily, the ones you see on the screen. But to get dirty, the dirty Dr. Pepper, son, my wife introduced that to me this week. It's freaking awesome. I like it. But anyway, here's how I approach prepping. All right. So I try to be predictive. There seem to be two different groups. They're the predictive folks and they're the reactive folks. And I'm not going to sit here and say one way is right, one way is wrong, one way is better or worse. Do whatever works for you. But for me, being predictive seems to work better. I'll give you a couple of examples. Gold and silver right now, skyrocketing in price, okay? Some people, the reactive crowd, they're looking at that and they're saying, man, this might be the time to stack silver and gold because everybody else is doing it. There's a panic in the air. See, anytime there's inflation, your precious metals begin to boom in price. And so people are stacking, gold if they can afford it, I guess, silver for the rest of us little jabrones out here, myself included. But I'm a predictive prepper, meaning I was prepping this stuff 2 years ago, because when I saw this uptick in inflation and I looked at the clown show in the White House, the squatter in chief and the vice thief in chief and all these people, and I realized they have no idea how to actually run a country. The economy is going to be in the crapper. I said, let's buy up some silver. Let's do it, son. Spot price is $22, $23. Right? So now my silver has gained money. It is what it is. Again, food, survival food has doubled in price. Doubled. Local Rural King, Bass Pro Shops, wherever you tend to get it, it's doubled. I bought it when it was regular price back then, but half price compared to now. So I'm seeing a lot of survival food that costs half as much as the reactive crowd is buying it up for right now. And so the reason I'm telling you this, getting back to the topic, right? The buckle up topic, is as a predictive prepper, I'm asking myself, where do we go from here? These aren't going to be the last highways that are locked down, I assure you. These are not going to be the last protests that we see this summer. I promise you. I see a potential for lockdowns and curfews and even martial law, with an asterisk, in certain areas, in larger liberal cities, in only certain areas of larger liberal cities, okay? And it's very important that you understand that. So, San Francisco, since this is where it started yesterday, again, you look at San Francisco, you understand it can happen in a place like that. It's not, those kind of lockdowns are not going to fly in this area. Okay. Not that I'm advocating for anything bad. Boogie woogie. I would never do that on this channel, but I'm just saying in this area, what was it? The dragon sleeper arm lock or something like that. You know, here we have a maneuver. It's called the grab them by the hair on the head and ragdoll 'em maneuver. I don't know if people, from San Francisco have ever heard that, but that's exactly what would be happening here on the interstates and things, especially the truckers around here, son. They ain't putting up with that. But I digress. The point is, I see a potential for flashpoints. Places like San Francisco, places like Chicago, places like Seattle that we saw yesterday, and of course, Brooklyn, where you could see curfews, especially. You could see lockdowns, meaning not locked in your home, but restricted movement out in public, right? Certain areas are just off limits to you certain times during the day where they're trying to keep the peace. Because police right now are heavily understaffed, especially, again, here's the trend, liberal cities. They did it to themselves. We all know this, right? With the defund movements, and they did just that. They defunded. Getting into San Francisco, as a matter of fact, sheriff's deputies in San Francisco are asking for National Guard help with their jail system right now. Y'all can Google that. They're trying to maintain order in their jails. They're so criminal, pun intended here. Ooh, this is good. Criminally understaffed in their jails, son, that they need the National Guard to come in. This is how gnarly things are getting right now. And again, we're just getting started. So, as more National Guard deploys out for whatever reason, the more likely, the likelihood increases of lockdowns, restricted movements, regulations, etc. We still have a long way to go until we get to November. A long way. It may not seem like it right now. The weather's nice, but look, we have a long way to go. The November fallout will be substantial. We were saying this early last year when everybody else was talking about lights in the sky and phantom UFOs and stuff. Remember that? We were over here at Prepper Nation saying, you know what, son, next November is going to be gnarly. When everybody else was saying you have 3 days to live, you better get your food and your zombie medications. And we were over here saying November is going to be gnarly. And now that everybody else is being reactive and they're starting to wake up and they're saying, oh, you know what? November's going to be gnarly. No kidding, Captain Obvious. We've been over here pounding that drum for about a year and a half. That's what I'm prepping for. All right. And I'm going to give you a very short list of things that I'm prepping based on this. Again, lockdowns, liberal cities, and only spots within liberal cities, I think, because they just don't have the manpower. You're never going to see nationwide lockdowns unless people are doing it to themselves. You're never going to see nationwide martial law. You may see this in spots in liberal cities, especially as we get closer to election time. Travel nationally may be affected. These protesters seem to understand that if they key in on airports, they can jack the entire system up nationally and internationally. So expect more of that. Month after the election, what happens? What I would consider to be a big event. What big event happens 1 month after the election? Cold and flu season. We start getting lectured to by the CDC again at that point. And there's all of a sudden a mad dash on what? Over-the-counter medicines and things like this. Just we're talking yesterday. Major shortages on many medications right now. All right. Be a predictive prepper. Don't wait until there's a big demand for things. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get the over-the-counter medicines now if you can afford to do it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and stack your ammo right now. Now would be a great time to stack ammo, not 2 weeks after the election when the ammo costs 3 times as much and it's very hard to find. You can afford to do it. I would stack it now because we know between the endless wars all over the place and the election, there's going to be a run on guns and ammo. There always is a run on guns and ammo. All right. And again, the wars just feed into that. All of your out of season supplies. All right. This is how you save money as a prepper. This is how you do things the smart way. Right now, it's freaking hot outside. Old John's got his sleeves pulled up and I'm out in the back office here. It's typically hot out here anyway. But anyway, now is the time to get stuff like climate bags, hot hands, things that people are not chasing down. A lot of this stuff you may be able to find on clearance, if not now, very, very soon. But you're going to need it again because there are 3 certainties moving forward. 3 guarantees here at Prepper Nation this morning. Number 1, these protesters are not going away. We're going to keep seeing this stuff all summer. It's going to increase. There's going to be a groundswell. It's going to become a huge movement, again, in liberal cities, I think. But they're not going anywhere. The weather's too nice. They got nothing else to do. Number 2, there will be election chaos. That is unavoidable. And again, we've been saying this for 2 years. Unavoidable. Doesn't matter if Biden wins, doesn't matter if Trump wins, it doesn't matter if Kennedy wins. There's going to be election chaos. Some people have said there's no viable path for Kennedy to win. Of course there is. Of course there is. We've got the 2 oldest candidates in the history of this country running head to head. If something would happen to them via natural causes, that entire fan base, voter base is going to jump on Kennedy that instant. So there is a viable path for the man. He is much younger. And number 3, again, winter is coming. It's going to get cold. We're going to see another cold and flu season. They're going to push that narrative via the CDC. You're going to want to have that stuff stockpiled as a prepper, or you can be a reactive prepper if that's you, and you can just pay a lot more for the privilege. In the end, folks, I am John with Prepper Nation. Thank you for listening this morning, shooting a thumbs up, hitting subscribe on your way out the door. Truly appreciate it. Y'all take care and God bless.